Welcome, Bronco Nation, my game review for Boise State versus North Texas. Boise State going down and winning the Frisco Bowl in epic fashion, as it would turn out. Bit of a slow start, bit of a boring start, I think, at least offensively for both these teams. Boise State and North Texas turning up the heat in the second half. Boise State winning this game 35-32, a 3-point win, but Boise State had to get it all working right in the end there to get this win. Had to get the offense in gear, had to get the special teams working, had to get the defense working. All phases of the team that struggled at different times throughout the game, but pulled out what they needed to in the end to get the win. A young team getting a big win, a win that they were clearly very motivated to go out and achieve, and it starts this team off on a great footing going into the postseason here, the 2023 preseason, a chance for them to come into that with energy and momentum and to build some excitement for next season's team. A great year for them to end the year for Boise State, to end the season here for Boise State. We are going to look at the offense, the defense, the special teams. We'll assign grades to each of those and kind of go over how each unit did. We'll look at how Boise State did in my 3 keys to the game, how they either achieved or did not achieve those 3 keys to the game, and then just summarize overall here what this win means for Boise State as they get ready to head into a very intriguing offseason with a lot of questions out there that I will try to answer and have other former Boise State players come on the channel just like I did last season to help me answer those questions and talk about what Boise State will be doing next season. So make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those exciting videos for next year. But let's talk about what happened in this game. This video coming out a little bit late. I had to fly right after the game came out, and I also wasn't able to take any notes during the game. So this is all kind of post-game, kind of looking at what happened and just giving you my thoughts, a lot of it from my reactions in-game. But again, I apologize for it coming out a little bit late for those who were looking for that review right after the game. But it was pretty late, so it's probably better you watch this in the morning so you have a chance to kind of go to bed, wake up refreshed, and excited to look at how Boise State did in this matchup. So first off, look at the offense. We're going to give them overall a little bit of a 2-half score here that's going to culminate in an ultimate grade. So the first grade, we look at that first half, I mean, it's bordering on F territory. I mean, it's probably D- at least. Boise State only 125 yards there in the first half, couldn't get anything going. 3 drives stalling out inside of the 30. Won their first drive, unable to convert on a 4th down. I think if North Texas hadn't converted on a 4th down, their first drive, which ended in 3 points, but if they hadn't converted on 4th down, their first drive, I think Boise State might have gone for the field goal here. But because North Texas did, Boise State's kind of trying to come in and show, hey, you know, we're as good as you are and better, and we're going to prove ourselves in this, and we're going to match whatever you put out. We're going to match that same intensity, that same focus. End up not converting their 4th down like North Texas did, turn the ball over there on their first drive. But they learned a lesson after that, kicked field goals on the other 2 drives that stalled up short. But again, Boise State stalling out on both of those field goal attempts inside of their own 25. And Boise State having to go for field goals because they really couldn't get anything going, unable to get the deep ball going, bunch of missed deep passes. Couple near interceptions, had 1 interception actually that would have been a pick if not for a pass interference on the defense call. And then just a lot of runs up the middle, not a lot of creativity, pretty much a lack of creativity overall in that first half, and only 1 run by Taylor Green for 8 yards. That's it. Boise State first half, abysmal performance, had a lot of fans snoozing, had a lot of fans wondering what was going on with this Boise State Broncos team. Come out in the second half, and I knew this. I mean, I didn't click the panic button. Boise State was still within striking distance, 6-10. They were kept in the game by Joan Dalmas. We'll talk about that when we get to special teams. But they were still in this game. Their defense was performing well, and they had opportunities on offense. They just weren't converting. And I said, hey, you know what? They're going to go into the half. Dirk Cutter's going to go, whoops, come up with a game plan that's actually going to work and come back and win this game. And I did say in my prediction video that North Texas, I thought, would hang around in the first half before Boise State able to pull away in the second half. Thought it'd be a little bit of a bigger score margin. But again, Boise State coming out in the second half, we saw kind of San Diego State 2.0. Remember the San Diego State game? Boise State comes out in the first half, doesn't have any idea what they're doing, throwing all over the place, running all over the place, not having any success in either. Boise State comes out in the second half and says, okay, we're going to stick and shoot with what we do well, which is run the football, and we'll see what success comes from that and what we can build on. Boise State comes out in the second half dominant, 330 yards of offense. Boise State's future stepping up to the plate saying, you know what? We need to win this game. This isn't just about this game. This is about setting ourselves up for our legacies here at Boise State, setting ourselves up for next season. We're going to come into this one in the second half, and we're going to get this win. Totally different play calling scheme in the second half. The biggest change overall, and it's something I have harped on every single game when Boise State has not had success on offense. I've said, you know what would have helped get Boise State some success on offense? Taylen Green's legs. His legs enter the running game in the second half. He ends the game, and again, like I said, 8 yards, 1 rush, 8 yards in the first half. He ends the game with 119 yards rushing, his third 100-yard rushing performance of the season, but first time since San Diego State that he's put up 100 yards on the ground. Puts 2 touchdowns in on the ground, and you know what that does? The fact that Taylen Green is now a threat in the running game, that second running back that you have to cover, that opens up everything. Ashton Jeanty explodes. I mean, George Holani had some nice moments, but this was Ashton Jeanty's game. Ashton Jeanty explodes in the second half, 178 yards rushing total on the game, 6.4 yard average, and a touchdown. That is a career long. Remember, this is a true freshman, right? True freshman running back, 178 yards rushing. He's hurdling guys. He's putting up jukes. He's battling through tackles. He's taking on multiple tacklers at the line of scrimmage and driving them 10 yards down the field for a first down. He looks unstoppable. At one point, he gets gimped up a little bit hurt, and he keeps on fighting, stays in the game. This was Ashton Jeanty. I mean, he's had so many welcome to Boise State, welcome to my future moments here for Boise State Broncos, but this is just another one. This season, as a true freshman, if this is his, hello, I'm here type of season, just wait for what we're going to see out of this young man going forward the rest of his career at Boise State. An incredible talent. I said this on Twitter. I said, people are trying to compare Holani and Jeanty, who's better, who's what. And, I think they're both amazing, historic. You look back and you say, those were two all-time great running backs. It's amazing. We're going to look back in awe at the fact that we had both of them on the roster at the same time. What it is? It's if Boise State had the year 2008 when they had Ian Johnson starting running back, but they also had Doug Martin on the roster, and he didn't really get any. Or maybe it was 2007. I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking on that one. But there was a year there where Ian Johnson and Doug Martin were on the roster together. Doug Martin really didn't get any looks, but Ian Johnson did. This is what that would be like. If Doug Martin had gotten carries his first year and you had 2 historic running backs playing together on the field. Well, that's what's happening right now. You have 2 amazing running backs, all-time great Boise State running backs playing together, playing off of each other, making each other look better, playing off each other's strengths. I really, really hope that Holani comes back next season. I think it's in his best interest to do so because I really want to continue to see both these running backs thrive, both these running backs continuing to show that it's together they make Boise State strong. If not, however, we have seen here that Ashton Jeanty can carry the load by himself. This was an amazing game for Boise State. Him putting up those types of yards as a true freshman, amazing game for him. And it all started because Boise State used Taylen Green's legs. Now, there's going to be a lot of development over the offseason, moving into 2023. There's going to be a lot of development here with Taylen Green. The offense is definitely going to look different here with Bush Hamden running the show. It's going to be something that we don't know what it looks like yet. But I really, really hope that no matter what it ends up looking like, we keep this element of Taylen Green's legs a heavy focus in the Boise State offense. I think when we've gone away from it this year, that's when it's hurt us. You still want to use his arm, and you don't want to necessarily just be a run-only kind of team. But when you take Taylen Green's legs out of the game artificially, when he's not being stopped by the defense and you just don't use him, you don't lean on him, you lose a major element of what makes this team special. I really hope that he continues to be a focus in the run game, not just as his arm continues to improve the passing game going forward to next season. So great game by Ashton Jeanty. And like I said, is Boise State's future stepping up. Eric McAllister has a touchdown, his only reception of the game, a touchdown there in the second half to put Boise State up. I believe they were up at that point again. I don't have my notes, but it was an amazing, amazing play caught the pass about 10 yards and put the other 14 in himself to put it into the end zone. So again, Boise State's future, freshman, true freshman Genty, true freshman McAllister, freshman Taylor Green, stepping up and making plays to show that Boise State's future is secure with these incredible players, the Texas foursome or whatever they're calling themselves, the Texas quad, putting up incredible numbers for Boise State in this game like they have all season, and I can't wait to see what they continue to do next year. Other highlights here, of course, Caples, he had a great second half. Ended the game with 6 receptions for 87 yards, long of 32. Really sparked Boise State's offense a little bit there in the second half. Boise State finishing with their third 300-yard rushing game of the season, 318 yards rushing. The first time ever in school history that Boise State has put up 3 300-yard rushing games ever. Again, incredible bowl performance. I'm still excited, still hyped from it, and it was all last night. And then you had, and Boise State didn't throw out a lot of trick plays in this one. And, bowl season, you're going to throw out a couple. They didn't throw out a lot of trick plays, but what a trick play to go for 2 to get yourself up then, because you'd obviously gone for 2 field goals there, so you needed to kind of make up for that 1-point deficit. Boise State goes for 2 in the craziest way possible, has Connor Riddle, a senior wide receiver who's seen almost no action. He's had 2 rushes for negative 10 yards. That's his entire career summary right there. Well, now he can add a 2-point conversion pass to that because he throws a pass to the long snapper, Mason Hunter. I mean, who draws up that play call? That was brilliant. That was amazing. That's something I don't think anybody would ever think of. That's just Dirt Cutter being Dirt Cutter, one of the most experienced offensive coordinator in the game. Talking about a former NFL head coach working as offensive coordinator, having fun in his last game as an offensive coordinator, going out the right way here with a win for Boise State in bowl season. Taylor Green still a little bit of struggling in the passing game, and again, he's developed so well. He's had a lot of growth this season from where he started to where he is now. He's had a lot of growth this year, but obviously the passing game is still something that he is continuing to work on. And that was apparent today. 13 completions, 22 attempts, 137 yards passing, a touchdown, and a couple near interceptions there. But that's what Bush Hamdan is going to do. He's, I think, brought in obviously for his offensive play calling and design abilities, and what he's shown he's able to do. But more than anything, I think this was a deliberate hire to match someone who could develop Taylor Green. They didn't want to bring in somebody who was just an offensive coordinator. They wanted to bring in somebody who develops quarterbacks. Every place that Hamdan has been at, former Boise State quarterback himself, remember, every place that he has been at, he has also, as an offensive coordinator, he's also worked there as their quarterback's coach and continued to work with and one-on-one mentor and develop these quarterbacks. He's worked with some great names. So I think he is going to be a huge asset here for Taylor Green. I think we're going to see a very different, improved product next season. But again, this is still, even with him being raw, even with him still having things to work with, this is still an incredible talent for Boise State who did what he needed to do to lead this team to a bowl win, the first time in 5 years that I've been able to say that, to a bowl win for Boise State. In what, again, playing North Texas, you're playing a small ball game in a small stadium, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like this team, this young team of freshmen and new starters and young players on this roster, they haven't been brought up on all those Fiesta Bowls. They're not spoiled. They think this is a bowl game. I'm getting to play and a chance to represent my team in the postseason. This is a huge deal. And they were clearly motivated to go out and win this game. And it showed. The fight that they showed from start to finish excites me for the future, regardless of the skill level, and the skill level is good. The fact that they had that mindset and that heart attitude to go out there and put their best on the field, to fight back when things aren't going right, and just to have the energy to play against a small team who's putting up a fight, and to say, you know what, we're going to come out and we're going to be motivated to win this game, and we're going to go out and finish it the right way. Great offensive performance. Like I said, first half's probably bordering on the F region. Second half is definitely in the A pluses. We're going to give it an A minus overall. I think the ending is what's more important here than the slow start offensively for this offense. All right, looking at the defense, and then we'll look at special teams and wrap up with 3 keys of the game here. So defense, a bunch of starters out on defense. And again, a couple guys that I wasn't even tracking were going to be out. I knew a couple of these guys were hurt or were dealing with some things from the last game or previous games, Jones and Kaniho. But Skinner, I didn't know Skinner wasn't going to be playing. So that was a surprise, and that was a blindside to a lot of people. He did not end up playing in this one. So Boise State, already on offense this season, been leaning on their young guys. Well, this defense was now leaning on their young guys again, and I think that showed the difference between the halves. We look at the first half, Boise State's defense, not outstanding, gave up 179 yards passing, 179 yards of offense, and a touchdown and 3 points there. Also gave up a 4th down, got a little bit dominated on the run front, gave up a couple of deep balls. But overall, they played well. They held them to 10 points only, kept them under 200 yards. That was good. And they had some big moments. You had that interception by Noah, who probably needs to talk to his brother a little bit about some of those running back skills there, because obviously great linebacker for Boise State, but unable to finish there on that run. 52-yard return. Now, that's nothing to sneeze at, but ends up just a little short. It looked like he got tripped up from behind a little bit by one of his players. But he was rumbling pretty slow down there, at least from what it looked like on TV. He was rumbling a little slow down there to finish it off. Ended up, of course, ending up short, and the Boise State ended up having to go out and kick a field goal. But a great job by him to get that interception. Had some nice moments there in the first half. I was very impressed by the start for a lot of these young guys. But I think the second half, with a little bit of that defensive breakdown, 256 yards of offense given up in the second half, 22 points, including a 30-yard touchdown pass, I think that showed the youth. I think the first half showed their excitement to be in this game, their motivation to play in this game, and their talent level, which is good. But the second half breakdown, not being able to adjust as quickly, being worn down, showed Boise State's depth issues right now, which have been so impacted with injury, and it showed the youth and inexperience of some of these defensive players. And I think that's why Boise State ended up there kind of falling apart a little bit in the second half, but they were able to finish well. They were able to finish and come up tight when they needed to. They brought some late pressure. They forced 2 drives where they either went 3 and out or they were forced into 4 and out situation. And Boise State, 2 back-to-back drives, which were both created off of good punts. Boise State able to stop North Texas and get the win, solidify this win for Boise State. Again, a 1-possession, 3-point game. It could have been very, very different if the defense hadn't been able to hold North Texas out of field goal range or really out of doing anything there in those last couple of drives in the second half. I was impressed by several of these young guys. Alexander Tubner, safety, leading the team in tackles here, 13 tackles on the game. And then I was really impressed by Rodney Robinson, of course, the player who almost had the interception but had the pass breakup on the last drive there by North Texas. 9 tackles and a pass defended. And then the guy who I was really impressed by this game, and whenever he's been on the field, I've been impressed by him this season, was Shea Oladipo taking over at nickel, which if you'll remember the preview video I did at the beginning of the season with Kakoa Nawahine, I actually said that I thought that Oladipo was going to play nickel. Before this had been announced that who was going to start there, there's a lot of questions. A lot of people were really wondering about that, because obviously Boise State losing their great nickel player, the Kaniho, the older brother, graduating from Boise State, running out eligibility there. So he not playing nickel anymore when he'd been such a dominant presence in that position, opened up to competition. And I really thought Oladipo would win this. I think that it probably was the right choice going there with Tyreek Jones. He had a great year in that position, but I wanted to see Oladipo on the field. I've thought that he is a player that brings a lot of energy, and he has a great skill set level. I mean, he's great at picking off passes, and he's been great at making those tackles in the open field, and he showed that today. I thought he played really, really well at that nickel position. It's a position I would love to see him repeat next season and getting more looks there. I think he's earning that playing time, and I'm excited to see what he did today. 9 tackles, and 1 tackle for a loss. The big kind of negative on this, and it's been a trend item this season, is 0 sacks. 0 sacks for Boise State. They also gave up a lot of passing yards, 17 out of 32, 283. So low completion percentage there, but it shows a lot of deep passes, including a 30-yard touchdown like we mentioned. And then they really got ran over on the running game. They've been pretty good at stopping the run. I thought they've been very, very good this year against the run game, but they really struggled. They looked like they were getting dominated there at the line, at the point of attack. 176 yards given up on the run in the rushing game here. So overall, I'm going to give this defense a B. They came up big when it mattered. They had some big moments throughout the game. Couple of interceptions. Reed got a pick. And then, of course, Noah getting a pick. I thought the young players, the fact that it was such a young roster here, or an inexperienced roster taking the field, the fact that they were able to play at the level that they did, even if they gave up some opportunities, I was very impressed by that overall. So I'm going to give this a solid B performance, and they did what they needed to win this game for Boise State late. All right, final unit here, looking at special teams. Well, bit of a up and down night, to say the least. Jonah Dalmez, great night for him, at least kicking field goals. 2 out of 2, 30, long of 37, kept Boise State in the game. Gave them points, kept them within 4 points, within a possession there in the first half, and Boise State able to rally and get the win. Ended up winning the game by a field goal, 35-32. So those kicks that he had early on ended up coming in big. Reminds me a lot of the Florida State game. Not as many kicks, but the fact that the kicking game kept Boise State in early. That's kind of what we saw in this matchup. Boise State getting those field goals early, allowing themselves to get some points, get some energy off those drives, and build and build and build on that before actually ending up winning this game when the offense got itself into rhythm late. Looking at James Ferguson Reynolds, and we're talking about up and down performances, this was an up and down, a down to start and then up performance for him. 4 punts, only averaged 31.3 because his first punt, 2 punts were terrible. He had 1 punt, his first punt, where he did kind of a run up. It actually looked like he was going to fake it and run for the first down, and then thought better of it, pulled up short and punted. In that kind of situation, if you're going to go for it, you got to go for it. If you're not going to go for it, you just got to punt that ball away. End up giving the ball away after a 34-yard punt. And a lot of that was impacted by kind of the run up, starting stop, and then the punt off. It really, I know that's how a lot of Aussie punters will punt if they have that opportunity. It's not how he has punted this year. It wasn't just normal, like, roll to the right and punt. I mean, it was a straight up run for like 6 or 7 yards forward before he punted it. And it really didn't add anything to the punt. I thought it definitely took away, kind of came off awkward, ended up with a shorter punt there. And some punters averaged over 40 yards on the season. Short punt for him there on the first one. A little bit questionable decision, or I'm not sure exactly why that happened. Again, maybe he was going to go for the first down and then decided, hey, I can't do it. In that case, good on him for realizing and punting away. But again, you'd rather see, if they're not going to make it, just punt it away to begin with. And then a bad punt, just muffed, basically 24 yards and rolling up for a little bit more. But that was a bad punt. But then in the second half, pulled it together. Obviously, in the locker room, so this is not how I want to end my season. It's been a good year for him. Started off a little bit rough, and he was almost replaced there at punter by Whale, but he's been able to come back, and he's been able to build up, and I thought he's shown a lot of I named him as one of my best progression plays. I thought he's shown a lot of great progression this season. When you look at Taylor Green's progression at quarterback, that's a highlight for Boise State, and Ferguson's progression at punter has been another highlight. So those are my two most progressed, most improved players from start to finish of the season. But he wanted to continue to show that improvement. He didn't want to end on this note. Came out in the second half. First punt, a beautiful 37-yard punt, checks up at about the 2015, and then just rolls and rolls. Hits at about the 2015, but then just rolls and rolls and rolls. It's a perfect spot, not a place that the return man could get to it, so he had to let it bounce in front of him, and then it rolled right past him. And Boise State stopped it at the 5. I believe if they'd let it go and had a little bit more situational awareness, it would have ended up at about the 1, the half-yard line if they'd been able to stop it. Ends up at the 5, still an amazing punt. Second punt for him is still a good one, checks up inside of the 20. So he ended strong for him, even though it started off rough. I love seeing his performance there for Boise State to finish out the year strong, just like this whole team did in the second half. Other notes here on the special teams that's going to impact this grade. The return team game, as far as kicking it off, was not great. They allowed a return of 28 yards and 41, and Dalmas kicked a kickoff out of bounds. So that's 3 negatives right there. The return of 41, not a good one right there. So a long return. Dalmas actually, I think he ended up with a tackle stat. So that's not something you want to see either. I've loved Dalmas getting some of those tackles throughout the season, definitely showing that he's willing to go and put his body on the line to make the play for Boise State, but you never want to put him in that position. So that's going to be a negative. No significant returns. Had 1 return by Dudley that I thought was pretty good, 24 yards. I think they got out to like the 29-yard line, 25, 29, somewhere in that range. But nothing really to kind of counteract that. So overall, they probably deserve a C+ for the special teams grade. But the fact that you had that amazing punt there by Ferguson to back North Texas up late. That was a big part of Boise State being able to come out and get this win, backing them up so far. And then they had a false start that ended up putting them at the one anyway. And then Boise State's defense able to put a more pressure than they otherwise would have with them having so much limited space there in the back end. And Boise State was able to come out defensively. And the kicking game, the punting game, really set up Boise State's defense there in the second half. And then setting up inside the 20 there also hurt North Texas on their last drive. So that was part of Boise State winning the game, was special teams. And then having those field goals early in the game kept them in it and again allowed them to win. So while the special teams had some bad moments, it actually contributed to Boise State winning. The bad moments did not cost Boise State. I'm going to give them a B overall grade in this one. Again, probably when you factor in everything, C+, but the impact on the game definitely deserves at least a solid B+. So I'm going to give them a B+ in this one. All right, wrapping up real quick here. Last couple of points. Looking at how Boise State did against my three keys to the game. Well, number one was shut down the passing game. Boise State struggled against the passing game all game, so I'm going to say that's an F. Excite. So it wasn't just about going out and winning. It's about doing it in a way that gets you on some highlight reels, excites the fan base, brings some energy into this postseason. Boise State definitely doing that. A lot of that was just through the incredible running game that Genty brought. I mean, his running today was incredible. I mean, I had so many moments. I was watching with a couple of other people who weren't Boise State fans, and I kept grabbing them and saying, you got to come watch this replay. This is an incredible run right here. And there were so many moments there by Genty, by Green. There were so many exciting moments in this bowl game. This was an exciting bowl game for Boise State fans to watch. Even if it was very much a heart-pounding game, it was also a very exciting game. So that's going to be an A, solid A performance there. And of course, the trick play, which I love seeing as well. That was great. And then build for your future. I was about highlighting your young players. Boy, did Boise State do that. A little bit unintentionally on defense because of the injuries, but then intentionally on offense because your best players are your young guys on offense overall. And Boise State really did that here. So A+ overall for build for your future. So Boise State, I said this on Twitter, so I'm going to just kind of repeat it here. My first initial thoughts, I posted this right after Boise State won this game. I said, my initial thoughts here, Boise State got to 10 wins. That is huge for Boise State. Boise State had a season that started off and looked like they might not even get to a bowl game, would be lucky to finish plus, 7-5. It looked like they would be lucky to get there. And now they finished with 10 wins and a win in the bowl season. Now, again, it's going to have to everything's going to determine how these players respond to the loss of Dirk Cutter, which, they knew was coming, and I love that he prepared them so well for this. This is not a surprise at all, but a lot of it's going to depend on how Hamden picks up from here and how Avalos and this defensive staff is able to rebuild this team defensively. That is going to be a lot of questions for 2023, but the fact that they were able to finish this year so strong sets them up so well for next season, and to get that 10 wins, second year for Andy Avalos, is so important. It was such a big part of this year. I love seeing that. So first one here, fact that they got 10 wins. Second, like I said, first bowl win in 5 years, first bowl game in 3 years. They had an opt-out, and then they had another one where they were not eligible due to COVID. But Boise State able to come in here and get, not just play in a bowl game, which we've been wanting to see Boise State do for a while, several disappointing years there with the opt-outs, and then the year that was canceled due to lightning, and then the game that Boise State lost to Washington. It's just been not a great postseason 5 years for Boise State fans, and to get this win was huge. So they are now 1-0 under Andy Avalos in the postseason, and first win in 5 years. And then they got a win full circle here, right? You start off the year and you get that loss to UTEP. Well, they just beat the team that beat UTEP early in the season, and Boise State now coming full circle and saying, we're not that team that started. We're different. We've improved. We've built for the future here. And like I said, talking about that future, this was a young team that overcame a tough start, showed grit and determination to build back and keep Boise State in this game. Was so proud of this roster and these young players for the way that they played, the way that they competed, the way that they stayed classy. There was a little bit of scuffle there on the North Texas bench. That was fully on North Texas, going after Taylor Green there. Boise State rushing in to defend their quarterback, but they backed off when they needed to, playing against a dirty team, a team with a coaching staff and players that were bitter and aggressive. This whole team, I mean, if you watch that post-game game interaction between Andy Avalos and the interim head coach here for North Texas. Not a pleasant response from the North Texas head coach at all. Great job by Andy Avalos and his team keeping their cool, playing with that high standard of excellence that we have at Boise State. Was so proud of their competitive spirit and the way that they played and the way that they stayed classy throughout this game. So amazing, such an amazing performance. I loved the Boise State secondary. They make a big play, they just put their hands behind their back and they just kind of strut a little bit. But that's it, and that is fantastic. That is showing, hey, I'm gonna celebrate, but I'm also going to stay contained and focus on the next play. Boise State has always had the right mentality, recruited the right players. I think that Boise State maybe has gone away from that a little bit in the past here with some players that Boise State has brought in that they've just looked at the stars. But I think that the guys that they have on this roster have both the stars and the mentality that it takes to be a Boise State great, to be a historic team. While this may not have been a historic season for Boise State, 10 wins, you compare it to some of Boise State's previous seasons, not 14-0, not Fiesta Bowl champions, but they got to 10 wins throughout very tough, discouraging circumstances. Were able to finish strong. Even in this bowl game, it's a perfect example almost for the season. Starting off slow, starting off behind, and coming back and finishing strong. Doing it the right way and showing that they have the talent and the mindset to go forward and do some incredible things. So I am so excited. This team looks amazing. I cannot wait to see what happens with this program next year. Let's build on this energy. Let's build on this momentum. Make sure you like, subscribe. I'm going to be previewing the season. I'll be doing a bunch of videos between now and the kickoff of next year. And like I said, I'll be bringing on former players to help me preview the season for Boise State, just like I did last year. Already starting to line those up, and a bunch of other videos besides. So make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you watch the video I did with Ryan Dinwiddie where we talk a little bit about those next year expectations. Thanks so much for being part of this journey. This is an amazing year to be a Boise State fan. Looks like the energy and the expectations, the excitement is back in the program, and I can't wait to be a part of it. I can't wait for you and me and all of us to be a part of this program as Boise State builds to something very, very exciting here under Andy Avalos and this coaching staff. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and as always, go Big Blue!